All right, guys, what's going on? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. And today we're going to be talking about team balancing here in XDefiant because all over social media, including the comment section of my channel in previous videos, you guys have made your thoughts and your opinions about the team balancing algorithm within this game very well known. So we're going to talk about it. I want your voices to be heard, and I've got the platform in order to help make that happen. So let's make it happen. But in order for me to do that more efficiently, I have to take you guys back in time to 2015. 2015 was the year that Black Ops 3 was released, and at the same time, it was coincidentally when the birth of this channel actually happened back in April 15th of 2015, which is my channel's birthday. I have to say that ultimately, Black Ops 3 was the game that was praised by so many people, but there's always going to be a but, right? It's like Black Ops 3 was good, but every single game out there has a but, or should I say many buts, right? In terms of the one thing or a handful of things that just keep it from being almost literal perfection, so to speak, right? And in Black Ops 3, one of the biggest complaints in that game was the team balancing algorithm. I remember that there were a few content creators, one in particular, 402 Thunder. I remember Black Ops 3 was the game to where he switched playing from team deathmatch over to free-for-all. Like, he was getting sick and tired of losing matches, because he had to carry players that just didn't seem like they had thumbs, respectfully speaking, right? He had to basically deal with that completely on its own. And if you are a solo player, the team balancing algorithm could be really, really brutal on a solo player, right? Especially if you have things like abilities in the game, which XDefiant does, and which every single player out there can have access to regardless of skill level. And on top of that, like, some of them are ridiculously powerful, like the intel suit or whatnot, which really is a really good way to nerf a good player, because ultimately, one of the biggest things that separates a good player from a bad player is their positioning, how they move around the map, and how they can surprise their opponents, manipulate spawns, etc., etc. It's not just their gun skill, it's how they move around the map. Gun skill is great, don't get me wrong, but something that I would argue is even more important is how you move around the map and how you get yourself at those angles and get the engagements to be on to favor you as opposed to the other guy, and basically you take advantage of that. That's really huge. And all of a sudden, when somebody can see you through a wall due to an ability that's built in the game, then you are all of a sudden like all that kind of goes out the window. They see you, but you can't see them unless you counter them with, again, the suit, so to speak. However, I would suggest that if you get pinged by the intel suit, if you're using DedSec, I think you should hijack that thing, just like pretty much you hijack everything else, as opposed to just disabling it, right? I think you should just be able to hijack it. I think that would be a really good counter. I think a lot more people would be using DedSec than that as it is. And there's many interesting ways of how you can legitimately nerf the intel suit, so to speak. But just like every other game out there, the game has to have something that caters to players that are new or that are inexperienced or just don't know what they're doing or whatnot. And they've also catered to us as well, the good players, by simply not having skill-based matchmaking or engagement-optimized matchmaking in pubs. But it is what it is. This team balancing is pretty damn brutal. So now, during the days of Black Ops 3, like I said, it made people like 402 Thunder go exclusively from team deathmatch to free-for-all, and it was quite brutal for the for the good player. I mean, there was no way I'd be able to get over 70 kills in a team deathmatch in Black Ops 3 or even beyond if it wasn't for that algorithm. So a part of me is almost kind of thankful for that, because I was able to accomplish such a feat. But there's been plenty of times also to where it's like, oh my gosh, look at the score of my teammates. Now, it doesn't really anger me like it angers or it frustrates some of you guys, that's for sure. But I can understand, because even though this particular topic may frustrate you and not frustrate me as much, there's other things that frustrate me a lot that won't frustrate you as much, so to speak. So I get it, man. So I get it. I think the way that this algorithm particularly works is obviously it finds all the players, through ping is king. We know that. But basically, everybody's got their skill rating in a game, right? So let's say you've got a total of 20,000 skill rating points across the board for all 12 players, right? So the game has to put 10,000 on one team and 10,000 on the other. But at the same time, if it notices that you're the best player, it has to balance things out to where you're going to have to, since you carry so many points, right? Having like, let's say 4,000, right? Out of the possible 10,000 for your team. If you've got 4,000 or 5,000 points, right? All of a sudden, all the other players on your team are going to have around 1,000 in order for you to get to that 10,000, which is perfectly cutting everything in half. And then everybody else on the other team may be a little bit more varied in terms of, you might have one player that's a 1,000 here, but then you're going to have a few players that are 2,000, and then you'll have one player that's like maybe 3,000 or something like that, right? So which most of those players are going to make, it's balanced mathematically, but it's not very well balanced in other ways, right? Because when you think about it, all those 2,000s are going to make work of all those other 1,000s that are on your team, right? And then of course you've got the 3,000. So you basically are forced to carry. Now, granted, you're able to do that pretty well, but here's the thing though. The thing is that like, even dealing with above average players, even though you may be quite better than they are, if they're above average and they're on, and then if they're on the other team, especially working with other above average players, that makes a big difference. This is another reason why solo players don't like to go against full parties. I mean, you have to be stupid in order to go against a full party, so to speak, right? Or want to go against full party. Well, I don't want to be too dramatic by saying stupid, but you have to be nuts, right? To go against that, especially if it's consistently. So if you think about it, the team balancing algorithm is kind of like a softer version of you going up against a full party, even though you're not going up against a full party. And if you ever do go up against a full party, you're screwed even more. So obviously that's why the matchmaking algorithm prefers parties to go against other parties. But as you guys know, if you've played XDefiant long enough, this isn't always the case. I mean, it doesn't happen every single time, but it's going to happen from time to time. And when it does, it is just an absolute like one-sided experience to say the least, right? So despite the fact that the devs are obviously trying to make this algorithm as perfectly as possible, it's I don't know if it's ever going to get perfect, especially when you consider the fact that you've got these abilities that every single player, regardless of skill level, has, right? Like the intel suit that can see where you're coming from, right? When you have that, and then you've got the lobbies disbanding every single time, it becomes that much more frustrating because, if you see a reasonably well-balanced lobby and you're having a good time and there's minimum frustration going on, because there's no such thing as a perfect lobby, right? When you have minimum frustration, it's like, okay, I want to stay in this lobby, but right now you really don't have that choice. And that's why it's very important for them to literally, get rid of the whole disbanding lobbies thing, hopefully sooner rather than later. And I think that that's going to make a really big difference. And of course, if they continue to balance the factions properly, obviously this is going to help even more. I mean, I just thought of something. I'm like, why can't we hijack the intel suit to where we can use that ability if we hack it, so to speak? But I guess that would just be a little too easy and it would be a little too cheesy. But at the same time, there's a lot of cheese in this game. There's a lot of randomness in this game. But it is what it is, man. I mean, it is an arcade shooter through and through. And, the devs have to, they have to try to make everybody happy, and it's a really, really difficult task to do. It's pretty much an impossible task to do. There's always going to be somebody that's going to be displeased with something, and they can have both valid and invalid reasons as to why they're displeased with this particular topic. But with that being said, I want to know in the comment section from you guys, how do you suggest they tweak this matchmaking, this team balancing? Should they have a little bit of a different approach mathematically? Should they just, what do you guys think? Is it something that could be adjusted simply by making it less strict? I mean, I personally, it's to my knowledge, it's all mathematical. So it's like, it's not exactly like nerfing a weapon, or is it? I don't know. This is where you guys come into play, and I want your suggestions, because you never know, even for a channel as small as mine, you never know what dev could be watching and may be getting feedback from this video. So it's not just my voice that they're going to listen to, but they're going to look in the comment section as well. So I would really like for you guys to, if you have an idea of some sort, to let it be known down in the comment section, as well as your displeasure. If you're aggravated by the team balancing algorithm, being a solo player or whatnot, I want you to voice your, some of your frustrations in the comment section below, because obviously I know what those are. So, in previous videos, you guys have mentioned that. It's been mentioned on different forms of social media. However, I want you to say it in this particular video, because this is what the topic is in this particular video. And if a dev happens to find it and click on it because of the topic, they're going to be able to see everything that you guys are displeased with in the comment section down below. But with that being said, I think I'm going to end it here. I would like to thank everybody for taking the time to watch and or listen. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.